If you're thinking about moving to Arizona's East Valley, you've probably asked yourself this question: should I live in Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, or Queen Creek? And while these four cities look pretty close together on a map, they can actually give you a very different lifestyle. So today I'm breaking down Gilbert versus Chandler versus Mesa versus Queen Creek. And we'll talk about what each area is like, who it might be a good fit for, and a few things you definitely want to think about before deciding where to buy. Hi, I'm Megan Haynes with Heart to Home AZ at Realty One Group, and my team and I help buyers and sellers throughout Arizona's East Valley. We work with a lot of people who are relocating to Arizona, and one thing I always tell them is this: don't just pick a city. Pick the lifestyle you want first, and then find the neighborhood that gives you that lifestyle. Because Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, and Queen Creek all have great options, but they're definitely not all going to be the right fit for everybody. So let's start with Gilbert. Now, Gilbert is usually one of the first cities people ask us about when they're moving to the East Valley. This beautiful home is in Gilbert. Call us if you're interested. But I also get why. Gilbert has that polished suburban feel. You'll find a lot of master plan communities, parks, walking paths, community pools, shopping, and plenty of restaurants. You also have downtown Gilbert, or they call it the Heritage District, which has become one of the best known restaurant and entertainment areas in the entire East Valley. So if you like the idea of living in a suburban community, but you still want to be able to go out to dinner, listen to live music, or have things happening nearby, then Gilbert can be a really good fit. But there's something important to know. Not every part of Gilbert feels the same. North and Central Gilbert tend to have more established neighborhoods, and they put you closer to downtown Gilbert. As you move further south, you'll see more newer communities and master plan developments. Gilbert may be a good fit for you if you want that community feel, newer updated homes, parks, and lots of amenities nearby. The trade-off is that Gilbert isn't always going to give you the most house for your money, and that is true. And that's when we may start comparing it to Mesa or Queen Creek. Next up is Chandler. Chandler feels a little more established than Gilbert in a lot of areas, and location is one of its biggest advantages. You have access to the 101 and the 202, along with major employment areas like Intel and the Price Corridor. So if you're moving to Arizona for work, Chandler can make a lot of sense. There's also a really wide variety of housing in Chandler. You'll find established neighborhoods, waterfront communities, condos, gated neighborhoods, luxury properties, and everything in between. And then you have downtown Chandler. This one is a personal favorite of mine. My husband and I love going out down there because there are great restaurants, breweries, and usually some kind of live music happening almost every single night of the week. So if you're someone who wants that suburban living but still like having restaurants and a nightlife nearby, Chandler definitely deserves a serious look. When people ask me Gilbert versus Chandler, I usually break it down like this: if you want more of that newer master plan suburban feel, then Gilbert may win. If you commute, freeway access, established neighborhoods, and being close to major employers are more important, Chandler might have the advantage. So now let's talk about Mesa, because I think Mesa gets misunderstood an awful lot. Mesa is huge, first of all, and that's actually one of its biggest advantages. You really can't just ask what it's like to live in Mesa, because living in one part of Mesa can feel completely different from living in another part of Mesa. West Mesa gives you easier access towards Tempe and Phoenix. Downtown Mesa has restaurants, entertainment, arts, and the light rail access. It's super hot right now. And then as you move towards East and Northeast Mesa, you get closer to the desert, hiking, the Salt River, and so much outdoor recreation. The housing is just as varied. You've got condos, older established homes, renovated properties, golf communities, 55 plus communities, newer construction, larger lots, and luxury homes, HOA, and a ton of non-HOA properties too. And Mesa can also open some different price points compared with Gilbert and Chandler. Now, that doesn't mean every home in Mesa is cheaper, because it is definitely not. But because the city is so large, buyers have so many more options. So when someone tells me, I want some flexibility and I'm open to different neighborhoods and different home styles, and I want to see what gets me the very most for my budget, then Mesa is absolutely going on that list. And finally, let's talk about Queen Creek. Now, Queen Creek is further southeast, and that's both part of the appeal and part of the trade-off for it. So if you're looking for newer construction, larger homes, bigger lots, or just a little bit more breathing room, then Queen Creek may be really appealing to you. There are a lot of newer master plan communities, but Queen Creek still has some of that more rural and equestrian character that it's been known for. They have a great rodeo ground out there. And one thing I don't want you to assume, though, is that Queen Creek is automatically cheaper just because it's further out. That is not necessarily true. Newer homes, larger floor plans, and bigger lots can push those prices up pretty quickly. The other thing you really need to think about is your commute. If you work from home, Queen Creek might be absolutely fantastic, but if you're driving into Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe 5 days a week, I want you to actually drive that commute before you buy. And don't drive it at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning or a Sunday drive. Drive it at the same time you would actually be going to work, because that can change how you feel about a house very, very quickly. So let's make this comparison really simple. Gilbert may be the right fit for you if you want that polished suburban feel, master planned communities, parks, restaurants, and lots of amenities nearby. Chandler may be your winner if you're prioritizing commute, freeway access, major employers, established neighborhoods, and a great downtown area. Now, Mesa is worth looking at if you want the widest variety of homes, neighborhoods, and price points. It's also a great one to consider if outdoor recreation, golf, or 55 plus communities are very important to you. And Queen Creek may be the one if you want newer construction, larger homes, more space, and you're okay with being a little farther southeast. But here's the part I really want you to remember. I don't think you should choose where you live based on somebody's online ranking of the best cities in Arizona, put those in quotes. Instead, think about what you want your normal Tuesday to look like. Where are you working? How much time are you willing to spend in the car? Do you want restaurants 5 minutes away, not just big box ones, but fun Arizona ones? Do you want a community pool? Do you need or want a huge backyard, or are you fine with a smaller one? Do you care whether the home is 5 years old or 30 years old? Are you looking for a nightlife and entertainment? Or could you trade some of that for more space and a little bit more quiet? Those answers tell us so much more than simply saying, I want to live in Gilbert, because if you're thinking about moving to Arizona's East Valley and you're trying to decide between Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, and Queen Creek, then reach out to us. Tell us what your budget is, where you'll be working, what you want in your home, and what you want your life to look like once you get out here. We can help you narrow it down to the cities and, more importantly, the neighborhoods that actually make sense for you and the way that you want to live. I'm Megan Haynes with Heart to Home AZ at Realty One Group. And if you're researching a move to Arizona, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We have a lot more coming about living, buying, selling, and relocating throughout Arizona's East Valley. I'll see you in the next one.